There are many Gazans of goodwill, many Palestinians conscious who abhor violence, as do you, as do I, who abhor the targeting of civilians, as do you, as do I, who were able to breathe. They were able to breathe for the first time in years. It was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. It was energizing. And if they weren't exhilarated by this challenge to the monopoly of violence, by this shifting of the balance of power, then they would not be human. I was exhilarated.
So, Hannah, the version of his remarks that was going viral online omitted the part where he says that he abhors violence against citizens or whatever. And so we wanted to include that in the spirit of fairness. But it's still freaking crazy and bizarre to say that you found the slaughter of civilians exhilarating and energizing, and that people felt able to breathe for the first time in years. I think for us sane people, we felt mortified and grief-struck by these atrocities, not exhilarated.
I actually felt like I couldn't breathe the entire Saturday this was happening, and I was seeing these images come across my Twitter. It was horrifying. It was gut-wrenching. I can't even fully describe the emotions I had watching that. So I don't like to see people taken out of context. I think there's already plenty of divisiveness and hardcore partisanship and enough of people actually being nasty in our world where you don't even have to edit people out to do this. So don't make it worse by editing clips like this. I think you need to try as best as you can to show the full context of what people are saying. And I guess to his credit, he did at the very least condemn violence against citizens. But I also think it would be hard to be this grossly mischaracterized and taken out of context if you weren't saying something pretty out of left field in the same video. So it's a really strange reaction. I think you can hate oppression, hate what's happened to the Palestinian people, as do I. I feel strongly about that and have for some time. But to accept in any level, to feel exhilarated or excited by this atrocity and just vile event in our history now is bizarre and creepy to me and inhumane. And I just think a lot of people have been really revealing themselves in regards to this, and on both sides, right? I've seen it on both sides, to be clear. There's plenty of people on the pro-Israel side who are absolutely fine with the loss of Palestinian lives and have no regard for those people either. And so it's a depressing time to be alive. I remember growing up hearing about the Holocaust and some of these awful things in history and just thinking, how did it ever happen? How did it ever get to this? This could never happen again. And feeling really assured and safe in that, even throughout high school and college, like this will never happen again. Humanity's learned its lesson. And now just being struck by how easily it can happen again, and to some extent is happening again, and how little unity there is and standing up against it, and how vile human nature can be. And I really think it's one thing that makes me dig deeper into religion, to be honest, because there's only so much you can do. I think being in politics, you often feel like you have some level of control, you have some level of impact and ability to right wrongs and fix things and make a difference. And when things like this happen at the scale, it makes you feel really helpless and hopeless and just like, God, what's the point of us even doing this? Like when this is still where we're at, and it is demoralizing. It's one reason, like, I'm so glad I don't have kids and I'm not having kids, because the thought of bringing kids into this world and the kinds of things that are around us, like it really does, it is just so demoralizing and difficult. So I adamantly oppose what he's saying here. I don't know how you could possibly feel exhilarated by this. I feel very depressed and sad, just grief-stricken by this side of humanity.
Even if you were super pro-Palestine or you were a Palestinian living in Gaza, I would not feel energized or able to breathe, because I would know, what's going to come next. Like, you would know that what's coming next is not going to be good for the people of Palestine after that attack. And so even if you should care about all the innocent people on both sides of this conflict, but even if you only care about the Palestinians, this idea that they would be cheering these developments makes no sense to me because you know Israel's going to hit back and hit back 5 times as hard. And that's going to mean a lot of pain and suffering for innocent people in Gaza. And so why you would feel exhilarated by this is the kind of thing, you know, sometimes only intellectuals. Some ideas are so stupid only intellectuals can buy into them, or like kind of trip themselves up into pretzels with their mental gymnastics, because there's just something about that professorial leftist type that is able to really wind up in some strange places that anybody with an ounce of common sense would just never get to.
Yeah. And, you know, this is an isolated event that we're calling out, but there's been a series of them across college campuses over the past 11, 12 days since the terrorist attacks, where we've seen rallies supporting Hamas. We've seen people tearing down like flyers supporting the hostages in Palestine right now. It's crazy to me. And it really is just showing the rot of higher academia in this country, which I think most sane people have been recognizing and calling out for some time. Like, I know we read the letter from the Harvard groups last week, and it's been interesting. A lot of people have said, if you just realize there's a problem at Harvard, you know, you've not been paying attention for long, which is so true. But I saw a couple tweets I want to read out, kind of just calling this out because it's absolutely correct. Liz Wolfe from Reason, she said, misgender someone on a college campus, to the gulag you go. Say you're exhilarated when watching bloodthirsty Hamas terrorists slaughter innocents. Here, have some tenure. And that's so true. This guy's not going to get fired for this. Like, he's not. And I'm not somebody even who's necessarily calling for that, but I am saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure he should. I think it's despicable,
No.
but I'm not sure he should.
But I am saying the number of right-wing college professors who have been run off campus and fired for much less serious infractions, like, it's astonishing. And then Chris Freeman on Twitter, he also said, a serious question: what's the charitable explanation for why so many campuses have chosen this particular moment to shift away from creating a safe and inclusive space where everyone feels welcome towards neutrality and free speech? And he's a proponent of free speech, to be clear, but he is making the point that all of a sudden all these colleges are saying, oh, we're going to stay neutral on this. Oh, we're not worried about providing safe spaces for the Jews.
Did you
Like,
see Harvard?
what is going
Harvard
on?
came out with this big statement about, well, we're not going to condemn any of the pro-Hamas demonstrations because we believe in free speech and neutrality. And it's like, excuse me, ma'am, Fire ranked you as the worst college in the nation for free speech. And now that there's leftists doing crazy crap, you're like, oh, well, free speech. And to be clear, I support the free speech of crazy pro-Hamas people too. But I'm saying, it's like, do you actually have even an ounce of commitment to that? Or is that just a BS excuse you're using to avoid taking the most basic moral clarity and condemning Hamas?
Furthermore, supporting free speech doesn't mean you don't condemn bad actions and bad people with your own speech. It means you don't censor them. And it is so hypocritical because these are the same people that would run off like Daily Wire commentators from their college campuses. And the college would basically like support that or not punish the students for doing it. And now they support free speech. No, you don't. No, you don't. And at the very least, you could still say, we support free speech, so we're going to allow these students to demonstrate, but we condemn it. It's disgusting. We hate it. Like, no, I don't accept that at all.
Yeah, no way.